do not try to implement any type of AI technology without communicating clearly to your team what your goal is. And don't implement for the sake of implementing AI, right? Take baby steps. Start with that one area and communicate clearly to your team why you're implementing this technology. This is not here to replace you. This is here to assist you. This is here to take some of the workload off of your shoulders, right?
AI isn't just changing dentistry, it's completely redefining it. Tune into Byte Sized Podcast, the dental AI and tech podcast, and stay ahead of the curve.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Byte Sized Podcast. I am bringing on a returning guest, Paul Murphy from Black Talon Security. What up, Paul?
What up? Thank you for bringing me back. I'm excited to be here once again.
Well, cybersecurity is a big deal, and you're all about cybersecurity and AI and all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to bring you back on. And the last time we talked, if any of you listening didn't see the previous episode with Paul, we talked about some really kind of, frankly, terrifying cybersecurity stuff that happens and how people, hackers are stealing information, selling it on the dark web and that whole process. And it's really interesting. And I would encourage you to go back and watch it. But today I want to talk more a little bit about employees or the influence of AI in industry, specifically in dentistry, and what's happening, according to some recent research, around employees actually sabotaging AI initiatives. Okay. And we had talked briefly a few weeks ago about some of the research studies that have come out. And I think we just start there. And then I've got some interesting questions for you about kind of what's happening in the industry that I think dentists should be aware of, owners, DSOs should be aware of.
Yes.
In terms of trying to implement new strategies using AI that might not be a noticeable issue. So can you tell me a little bit about some of the research that's come out recently about AI sabotage?
Yeah, sure. So I actually recently read a study by CIO, which is Chief Information Officer. It's a publication, that's geared toward technical folks that show the rate of sabotage being as high as 31% across the board. And that number actually increases to closer to 41% with younger team members, which really shocked me, right? I would have thought the opposite would have been true. But apparently the younger the team member, the more likely they are to sabotage AI efforts. So that was a pretty scary number.
So Gen Zs are more likely to sabotage an AI initiative. Why do you think that? Did they talk about why they think that is?
Because they know how, right? So because they're more likely to know the tech, right? And know how to navigate the technology. But so much of the sabotage is just fear driven, right? So it's either, am I being replaced? Am I training an AI agent that's designed to replace me, at some point, in the future? That's how some sabotage is happening, where it involves literally like the bad injection of data. Right, to force a different outcome from one that may have been expected. Some people sabotage it. It may not even be malicious. Sabotage could happen due to a lack of participation, right? So if you're trying to measure the success rate of AI that you've recently implemented, if you have team members that refuse to participate or who are afraid to participate, you're not going to have the outcome that you expected just due to a lack of participation.
When you told me that stat, my thought was that obviously the younger generation would probably be more apt to lean into the technology. That was my initial thought, right? But the data is showing the opposite.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's just because they know how to use the technology and so they know how to hack, sabotage the technology? Or do you think that it's because or maybe both, or do you think it's because younger people understand really what's about to happen? Like they understand the technology so well that they actually see job displacement issues more clearly than older generations. You see what I'm saying?
Well,
they see the risk. Is the risk higher for them, the perception of the risk?
I believe it is. Yeah. So I think both things are true, in all honesty. And I think younger generations, younger people are more likely to have, kind of tested this technology, right? Or messed around or played with this technology on their own, right? Outside of the workspace. And they know how intuitive and how powerful it is. they're aware of the, maybe more aware of the capabilities of AI. It goes back to what I said earlier, right? So much of this is fear driven. It's that's what it's about. So, but I think to your point, both things are true.
Both things are true. Yeah,
Yeah.
they understand the technology, and they probably, because they understand a little bit better, they know how to navigate it. They know how to duck and jive, so to speak.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, dentists are, in terms of like AI taking jobs, dentists are fairly insulated from this. There's not a day in the next few decades, I would say, that, you go in and you don't see a dentist and you see a robot. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. I don't think we need to be afraid of that. But when you look at the dental team, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and you're looking at, there's just a ton of softwares being developed with AI. Like we've even developed an AI receptionist that takes phone calls, in off hours. Sure. We've developed a chat, a web chat product that's sick. Mm-hmm. But there's like AI note-taking apps. There's perio charting. Yeah. There's companies like eAssist that are doing a partial insurance verification with AI. Mm-hmm. You've got diagnostics like Pearl and Overjet and NVIDIA AI, which are extremely well-backed companies. So this AI software development is just flooding the market in the dental industry. And for the front desk person, speaking to like an AI receptionist, one of the biggest things that we've run into as we've introduced this product to dental offices is that the front desk is a little bit leery. There's definitely a sense of leeriness. But the reality of it is the dental practices are missing like a third of their freaking phone calls anyway.
Right.
So I don't understand, like, how do you get around the problem of a front desk person worried about losing their job because an AI is going to answer the phone from now on, when in reality, they can't get the damn job done in the first place because they're missing so many phone calls. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, how do you work through that?
Communication, right? So, for a practicing dentist, I would say number one, team communication is absolutely mission critical, right? Do not try to implement any type of AI technology without communicating clearly to your team what your goal is. And don't implement for the sake of implementing AI, right? Take baby steps. So maybe, recognize an area of your practice where you're having some type of bottleneck issue, right?
Okay.
Where you think AI can produce some immediate ROI, right? Or you can get some immediate results.
Right.
And start there. Start with that one area and communicate clearly to your team why you're implementing this technology. This is not here to replace you. This is here to assist you. This is here to take some of the workload off of your shoulders, right? I know you work hard every day, right? The second you step into this practice, to the time you leave, you work hard, you're not at risk here, right? I'm trying to take some of the pressure off you and streamline processes here, within the organization. If I were a practicing dentist, it were my business, and I was about to implement AI, other than communicating, with my team as to why I'm implementing, well, if that's step one, step two is let me identify a potential AI champion within my practice.
Right? That's exactly what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
To identify an AI champion.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that person can kind of help with implementation. That a person can provide some oversight, right? And maybe reduce the risk of some of the sabotaging efforts that are happening out there. That person can help and work with AI to develop maybe new policies and procedures around, a specific area. Maybe it's revenue cycle management. All right. Develop a policy and procedure with AI that says this is the new step that we're going, the process we're going to follow for RCM, for example. The other part to that, though, is you have to develop clear policies and procedures around the acceptable use of AI within a practice, right?
Okay, before we jump into the policy and procedures, so that we can address the cybersecurity issues with AI, let me come back, because what you've said is something that I actually sat in on a huge CEO executive level AI conversation. There was thousands of business owners on it. They had some big companies on there, Microsoft and whatnot. And it was a kind of an open forum where they brought in several leaders of organizations these are companies with thousands and thousands of employees, talking about how to implement AI. And the general consensus across the board is not a top-down initiative. It is a bottom-up initiative. You
Yes.
go to your teams and you give them the resources and the tools, and you say, how can you make your job better using this tool? And that is a very different model than my sense of how dentistry is run, because
Mhm.
usually it's a very top-down decision-making process. So the dentist comes in and says, we're going to use AI. And the team is like, oh shit, I'm losing my job or
Right.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
Rather than going to your team, assigning a champion, which is exactly what they said. Were you on that freaking webinar? You probably were.
No, I'm
They
sorry.
actually said that. They actually said
Yeah.
that.
Wow.
Identify an AI champion and give them the responsibility to find and some budget. Like, let them pay for Chat GPT,
Yeah.
get them Claude, let them invest in some of the software that's being developed, and then let them bring that up to you and say, this is how it can support the organization and streamline processes and enable our teams to, do more, extend operational dollars and make us more profitable. So
100%.
so
Yeah.
you just basically, said what all of these execs were saying on this other podcast. All right, let's move on to how are they sabotaging, and like what are the policies and procedures that need to be put in place to stop employees from sabotaging AI initiatives?
So I guess we kind of touched on some of this earlier, but if there's a specific policy and procedure developed around the acceptable use of AI, right? Or not just acceptable use, but maybe it's a policy and procedure tied to a specific workflow.
Okay.
If you have an AI champion and you have a written policy and procedure in place that a team member signed off on, it makes it more difficult for them to sabotage coming from a malicious place, right?
Right.
So not following a procedure, the bad injection of data to purposely cause a different outcome maybe than the one that was expected. Or, like I said earlier, a complete and total lack of participation. You're going to have those team members who are like,
They won't do it.
Yeah, I've been in this role for 15 years. And I've seen technology come and go in this practice in the time I've been here. I've seen, the doctor invest in technology that eventually became a very expensive coat hanger. I'm just going to continue to do my thing and continue to do my job the way I always have. And that's sabotage. That's a form of sabotage, right?
Yeah, the resistance to change.
100%. Yeah,
change is difficult in the first place,
especially with AI, right? It's no different than practices that have transitioned over to like an EMR, right?
Yeah.
And every office who's gone through that process has had that one employee who's like, I'm still going to keep images in my email, right? I'm still going to save stuff to my desktop, which kind of defeats part of the purpose of going to an EMR. In the event of something like a breach, you're in big trouble because of that one employee, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe not maliciously saving, images that should have been just transferred over to an EMR and then deleted, but just doing it out of force of habit and causing potential issue. So,
okay, so we're just talking about protocols not being in place that would insulate the risk, or insulate the practice from risk because data is being exchanged properly. Maybe there's sabotage where an employee does things sloppily, or there's not protocols in place to basically identify how to implement a particular tool or whatever it might be. So that's one way. Two, they're just an employee's lazy and they don't want to do it. They don't want to change. And so that's sabotage. It's just a waste of money and time, right?
Yeah.
Are there any other issues that are like intentional sabotaging types of issues that you've seen?
That could be intentional or unintentional, and it's all around the lack of education for team, right? So it's imperative that any practice or organization educate their team members on what I call the 3 Ps, the difference in data. There's public, there's privilege, there's private, right?
Okay.
And you just put a generic question into, AI in a practice, sure. But what if it's APHI, right? If you just
like if you just go to ChatGPT and ask it a question, you put EPHI in there. Like, who knows what's being shared? Like,
it's leaving your practice essentially, right? It's leaving your network.
Basically, right.
Your protected health information is now leaving your network and being sucked up into this agent. Someone's using it, for some purpose, right? So education is imperative, right? So sabotage can happen either maliciously or out of ignorance because they weren't trained on acceptable use. What AI technology is acceptable? What's the acceptable use of AI technology? And what's the difference between public, privilege, and private data? That education has to happen.
Okay. Yeah. The problem with that, Paul, is that where do you go get the freaking education? Because there's not a standard right now in the industry. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I started the podcast, is to probably start coming up with some ideas. I mean, do you guys provide that type of training, or is there other resources online where you can get a, like, where do you go? I'm not setting you up for a sell here, but is that basically what I've done?
I appreciate you actually doing that.
Okay. That was not an intentional plug. I really was like, where do you go to get the, okay. All right, keep going.
No, so we've recently created an AI division. I onboarded a gentleman a little over a year ago who has 10 years of experience in the development of AI tech, right? Unlike 99.9% of the people that are AI experts out there. And I've tasked him with creating an entire AI division that's, designed to help practices safely implement AI technology, right?
All right. I gave you a free, that was a bump set spike for you.
Yes, it was. So thank you very much for that.
Spike.
Yes.
Okay. So how are you guys using AI? Well, okay. So you've got the education, you built the platform to start delivering protocols and ethical standards for the implementation of AI in a dental practice. Awesome. Mm-hmm. We'll probably do this in another episode about that. Okay.
Sure.
How are you using AI in your own company?
Number of different ways. We use AI tech that we deploy as a defensive tool that we deploy in our clients' networks. It's similar to like antivirus on steroids.
Okay.
It's AI tech that's, it's designed to recognize the fingerprints of like malicious code, unnatural lateral movement, across the network, unnatural behavior across the network. Very powerful tool, and is one that we rely on heavily. We use AI for training, right? Because we provide cybersecurity awareness training, for our clients. Yeah. Sometimes, since we're also an incident response company, if we see a new methodology or tactic that criminals are using successfully against the healthcare community,
right?
We use our AI training program to spin up a quick training video.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, that deals with that specific new methodology that we haven't seen before, right? And we have to use AI for that because we got to get it developed fast and we got to get it sent out fast.
Yep.
And it's actually a digital avatar that delivers our training for us.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So you just give a script and it just
100% get it out instantly.
So there's no like long media production cycle or anything like that. Yeah.
No. Right. Now we have to react quickly, right? Especially if we see new hacking efforts targeting, in this case, the dental community. The stuff that we need to develop and get the word out as quickly as possible because these threat groups move incredibly fast. One interesting thing is I used it recently because I onboarded a new team member that was coming in more of a sales role. And it was at a time where I was just doing back-to-back events, all dental events. I'm flying all over the country. And so I was trying to figure out, like, how am I going to provide any time that this new team member needs, right? And how am I going to do effective training and not have this person come in and sit here for a week or two and, not know what to do? Yeah. So what I did is I took an AI agent and I pointed it at all of our webinars and podcasts that we've done, all the articles that we've written over the years, all of our marketing material. And I just said,
create me a training program.
And you know what? In minutes, I had a training program.
That's actually a brilliant idea for a dental practice, hiring a new employee.
It was amazing. The training was so much better than if I had delivered it myself because it was very well organized.
Give me 1,000 questions, multiple choice.
100%. It was training. It was testing. It developed flashcards. It was just incredible. It was incredible. So that's one way I've used it personally within the Black Talon organization recently.
Oh, that's giving me some ideas, man. That's a really great way. All right, we're gonna try and close it up a little early today and not go too long, so we can both move on to some other meetings. But I do have two things. I have a question and then a statement. For if a dentist is listening to this or anybody in the industry, and they're like, what do I ask when I'm going to implement AI and we're taking more of a sniper approach, not a throw crap at the wall, like we're solving a specific issue. I'm talking to a software company or I'm talking to you about maybe hiring you. What questions does this dentist need to ask in order to help them navigate how to make a correct decision about who they're working with and whether or not that company is going to protect their interests and their patients' data?
Yep. Two things right away. Number one, they need to ask any company who they're dealing with. They need to ask them for a copy of a recent third-party risk assessment that was performed against their AI technology, right?
Got
That's
it.
a must, and it
Okay.
has to be recent. The number one reason for that is, will I have the ability, or does the end user or does the client have the ability to go in and change settings, right? Public, privilege, private. Where is the data going? If
Where's
I'm
it being
implementing this
saved?
technology
Okay.
on my network, right, and it's ingesting any type of PHI, we need to know where that data is going, right?
Got it.
Is it being shared with other organizations? Is it being used to train AI tech in order to make it better? Like, where's the data going? So that
Okay.
has to be addressed, number one. And also, I would ask for any documentation that company has related to GRC, governance, risk, compliance, right?
Okay.
No one should assume, and I don't care how well known that the brand is, or how well known they are within like the dental community or industry,
Mhm.
you need documentation about GRC. Do not assume that a company, even if they're well known, has
Yeah.
taken all of that into consideration. We are already seeing lawsuits now because basic guardrails were missed.
Or missed in the okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm not going to name names, but a very large dental service organization right now is in the middle of a class action due to the implementation of AI to do something as basic as field phone calls, right?
Yeah,
We have
yeah.
too many missed calls. We need AI technology implemented to field these phone calls. Okay, it sounds simple enough. No, it's already led to
Yeah.
a class action, and the
I know which
basis
one you're
of that
talking
case,
about. It's a
you know
big
what
one. Yeah. I know
federal
which one you're talking about.
wiretapping laws is the basis, right? So yeah.
All right. So I didn't know that you have an AI division that you've built this over the last year that is disseminating information on how to implement AI in a practice, educating teams, all that kind of stuff. I would encourage anybody listening to, I'll put in the description, I'll put a link to Paul's website, Black Talon Security. Please reach out to them if you have interest in that. I would like to actually have another conversation about that product or process that you're developing,
Sure.
because I think it's absolutely necessary in the dental industry that needs to be established. There needs to be a protocol and an ethical standard setting. And dentists simply need to know that there's a resource out there that helps to vet and filter, because there's just so much stuff. It's moving so fast.
It is.
Yeah, it's just like every week there are like 2 or 3 new products on the market making astronomical claims, and you don't know what's behind the veil there. You don't know what they've got and whether or not their interests are your interests. So anyway, I will put that in the description, and you guys will do, I'm assuming you do free consultation or anything like that, discuss. So
We do.
am I correct?
100%.
Okay.
100%.
Yeah, please reach out to Paul if you have questions about that. But thank you again for coming on, Paul. We'll definitely have you back. You're a stud. I appreciate you, and have a great week.
Thank you for bringing me back. So
You're
honored
welcome,
to be
brother.
here.
All right.
Thank you.
You take care.
You too.
Thanks for listening to Byte Sized Podcast. Tune in to stay up to date with everything dental AI and tech